Hey guys, in this video I will be discussing the benefits of a healthy, well-balanced diet. I will be specifically tailoring this information for youth males that are 9 to 13 years old, as I will be utilizing the daily recommended intake for foods and nutrients for the target group. Now, for youth males 9 to 13 years old, diet may not be something that you think much about or is a priority. I know it was not for me at that age, and the only thing I was thinking about in my diet was what candy I would buy next. At this age group, you are also very active throughout the day. Taking this into account, you will want to consume foods that will best help you to grow and repair your body, especially during this growing phase of your life cycle. There are countless benefits to a nutritious diet that one receives when having a well balanced diet. The atoms and cells in your body are constantly being replaced, and your body derives what it needs from the foods that you eat. A healthy diet will also lead to better physical and mental health. Your body will feel good as well as your mind. Additionally, for many of you who play sports, feeling good physically will yield greater benefit when on the practice field or in the games. Good nutrition is not something that can be received overnight, but the effects will greatly compound over time. A key reason to follow a healthy, balanced diet is it decreases your risk for chronic preventable diseases. One example of a chronic disease as a result of poor nutrition in children is osteoporosis. A child is at risk if they do not consume enough calcium or vitamin D. Therefore, it is recommended that you consume sufficient amounts of calcium and vitamin D in order to decrease your risk for osteoporosis. It should also be noted that your peak bone mass will be reached in the first 30 years of your life, so it is wise to prioritize healthy bone growth early on. But how can we know the proper amount of each micronutrient, calcium and vitamin D, that we need? Luckily, we have the handy reference recommendation that we can look at in order to see if we are receiving ample amounts of these nutrients. A simple way to measure nutrient intake to an amount that is good can be seen through the DRI, or dietary reference intake, which tells us how much of each nutrient that we need to consume in order to support good health. The DRI will vary with age and gender. Therefore, for youth males, we will look at the DRI for nutrients for males aged 9 to 13 years old. In the highlighted column and in the first column, we can see that the DRI for calcium is 1,110 milligrams daily. So that is how much you should consume each day. If we hop over to the fifth row, we can see that the DRI for vitamin D is at 10 micrograms daily. As you can see in the top title of the chart, we are using a dietary reference intake called EAR, or Estimated Average Requirement. This is the amount of a nutrient required to meet the needs of 50% of the healthy people in a population. Now, going back to the first example of the chronic disease shared, osteoporosis. As mentioned, the best prevention mechanisms are to consume ample amounts of calcium and vitamin D. Now, when we look at the DRI table, we'll want to make sure that we consume at least 1,100 milligrams daily of calcium, in addition to 10 micrograms daily of vitamin D, in order to best prevent osteoporosis. But what does this look like in practicality? What would I need to eat daily in order to reach these specific micronutrient levels? Let's take a look. Skim milk is a great source of calcium and has 300 milligrams per glass. Salmon is loaded with vitamin D and healthy omega fats. A 3-ounce serving of salmon has anywhere from 10 to 18 micrograms of vitamin D. Now, how can I go about planning an overall healthy diet for myself as a 9 to 13-year-old male? Luckily, My Plate provides great recommendations on how to break down a balanced diet by food category. Putting in the average height and weight of a 12-year-old male, we will receive a daily diet plan by food category provided by My Plate. Here is what a day of eating would be broken down by food groups. It consists of 2 cups of fruit, 3 cups of vegetables, 7 ounces of grains, 6 ounces of protein, 3 cups of dairy, while also limiting added sugars, saturated fat, and sodium, and with a recommendation of 60 minutes of activity each day. But let's prepare a sample meal to help us reach these goals. We will include a meal consisting of 3 ounces of salmon as our protein, 1 cup of skim milk, 2 ounces of white rice, 1 cup equivalent of asparagus, and half a cup of blueberries. Here's our sample meal. First, we have 1 cup of asparagus, which is 8 to 10 stalks for reference, as our vegetable group. We have half a cup of blueberries as our fruit group, 2 ounces of white rice as our grain group, 3 ounces of salmon as our protein group, and a cup of skim milk to top it off. Now, this is a sample meal that would be good for dinner or lunch. Now let's take a look at the exact micronutrients that this meal provides. Now we'll go over some of the key micronutrients present in the meal to see how they compare up with the DRI for males 9 to 13 years old. Starting with niacin, we can see that meal had an equivalent of 11.4 milligrams, and looking at the DRI chart for our age group, we have a recommended intake of 9 milligrams, so we're good there. Then we'll go over to vitamin B6, where that meal had just under 1 milligram present, and our recommended amount is 0.8 milligrams, so it looks good there. Next, we'll go over to vitamin C, where it is recommended that we have an intake of 39 milligrams a day. Our vitamin C intake in that meal was 14.5 milligrams, so it looks like we're just on track there. Then we'll go over to vitamin A, where it's recommended that we have 445 micrograms daily. We'll look at the RAE measure for vitamin A, and we see that we had 251 present in that meal, 251 milligrams, so that's great there. Now we'll look at our micronutrient intake in another key set of nutrients, starting with calcium, where that meal had an intake of just under 350 milligrams, and we have a recommended intake of 1,100 milligrams, so it looks like we're on track, given that it's just one meal throughout the day. Next, we'll move into iron, where it is recommended that we have an intake of 5.9 milligrams a day of iron. That meal had 5.576 milligrams, so it's on track to reach our sufficient amount. Moving on to magnesium, the meal had present 83.4 milligrams of magnesium. We are recommended to have 200 milligrams a day at that age, therefore that would be on track to reach the progress. Lastly, we'll look at our zinc intake, another key mineral, and in that meal, 2.61 milligrams was present. We're recommended to have around 7 milligrams a day in our DRI. Therefore, we'd be looking to supplement a little bit more zinc in the other meals throughout the day in order to reach our DRI level. For potassium and sodium, we can look at our adequate intake levels to see how we compare with the recommended amounts. 4,500 milligrams of potassium is recommended daily. Given that we had 1,083 milligrams in this meal, it'd be beneficial to supplement additional potassium throughout our other meals in the day in order to reach this recommended level. For sodium, 1,500 milligrams is recommended daily. Given that we had 186 milligrams in this meal, it'd be beneficial to supplement additional sodium throughout other meals in the day in order to reach this level as well. And that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you utilize this information going forth to lead to a healthier lifestyle.